I was saying Bowie.
Hello, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Side 1, Side B with Dave and Steve. I'm Dave.
And I'm Steve.
Alright. This one is kind of an interesting one for us to do between the seasons because it is kind of a reference to my very first regular episode of the show and my very last one. That the first record that I brought for our second episode was the name of this band is Talking Heads, which was a live Talking Heads record. And my very last one that I brought for the season, which was Changes One Bowie, which was a best of David Bowie album from like 1976. This is kind of something that happened shortly afterwards, and that it was a single from the live record that he put out in like 78 to promote his 277 albums. And so this is kind of what he did afterwards, after he had decided he was done with the whole thin white dude thing. Steve, what do you know about David Bowie?
Not as much as I should. I had a friend come over and she played me his last album before he passed, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, very good record.
I actually saw a orchestra play David Bowie songs along with a rock band downtown one time, so that was really cool.
Oh, were they doing a specific record, or were they just like throughout his career?
I think it was just throughout his career. I struggle to remember much about it at this point because it was a while ago, but
Fair, yeah.
And then, of course, a bunch of Bowie songs that are culturally relevant that have just entered my ears through cultural osmosis. Somebody that I'm a fan of, but haven't really dove into his discography yet.
All right, yeah. So this one was particular record that I got was something that I picked up for a free record store day in like 2018. Well, record store day, not free. It would have been nice if this was free. This was like $12 for 4 songs. But yeah, this was for record store day in like 2018, and it was basically they padded out like the single from his 1978 live album Stage, which was to promote like the first 2 of his Berlin records. So they added another track to get it to the length of an EP, basically. The original single had the song Breaking Glass on it as the lead single. Then on the B-side it had Art Decade, which was like an instrumental off of his Heroes record, and a live version of Ziggy Stardust. This one added another song to it, Hang On To Yourself, also from the Ziggy Stardust era, so it was one song from Low, one song from Heroes, so 2 things from like his newer like experimental krautrock electronic type stuff, and then 2 of his glam songs but played with the same backing band that he was using to play his more experimental krautrock stuff. So it was kind of a cool way to look like both at what had come before and what his current work was like. It did not come with a case for it. It was just like a picture disc and a plastic sleeve, so we don't really have any art to examine other than like a picture of Bowie on the front and back of the disc itself, so we won't really do any art analysis. But the lineup on it was David Bowie himself on vocals and keyboards, Carlos Alomar on rhythm guitar. Carlos Alamo is a motherfucker rhythm guitar, which we'll get into in some of the longer episodes. George Murray on bass, Dennis Davis on drums and percussion, Adrian Belew on lead guitar. Do you remember Adrian Belew from the Talking Heads record?
I sure do.
Yep, that was how Brian Eno met him to introduce him to Talking Heads.
Oh, right.
So yeah, this was the tour that kind of made the Talking Heads extended lineup possible in a way.
Someday I want to make one of those family tree charts out of all the bands that we review and see how they all interconnect.
All of mine will connect back to Brian Eno, and all of yours will connect back to Ozzy.
Well, Tony Iommi.
Tony Iommi, yeah. And then, Simon House on violin, Sean Mays on piano and the string ensemble, and then Roger Powell on synthesizer and keyboards, because Eno didn't play live with this group, he just played on the records.
Yeah.
But yeah, this the first side of this EP is the two from his Berlin era, which is Breaking Glass and Art Decade. So we will get that started.
All right. Looking forward to it.
All right, and welcome back. That was the first side of the Breaking Glass EP by David Bowie from Record Store Day. Steve, what'd you think?
I thought it was fantastic. I really liked the way that they successfully mixed like hard rock with like groovy, funky sort of stuff on that first song. The rhythm section was just enormous on that.
Yeah.
Like the drums just sounded freaking huge, and the bass playing was just absolutely monstrous. And yeah, Bowie sounded fantastic. Really great energy on that one. And then I liked how it went into like a more experimental instrumental, and it just kind of went into this other universe in a sense, where, you know, I went from like rocking out to just kind of sitting back into my chair and soaking up the atmosphere of the soundscape that they were making.
Yeah, kind of droney, a lot of like distorted synths, and you know, like detuned synths like that. Which there's a little bit of that in Breaking Glass, but it was really like that small part that, you know, like at the end of that song didn't really have verses and choruses because of the structure, but you know, like the breaking glass in your room again, listen, like that was just the only part of that you really got in that first song. And then to have a song that was like all that, no vocals, and the fact that they performed those songs off of those albums live too, you know, like both Low and Heroes, the two Berlin era albums that he'd released at this point, would have like more rock songs on side one of the record, and then side two would be almost all, if not all, like all on Low, all except one on Heroes, just like ambient soundscapes basically.
Yeah.
And that they performed both of them live, I think, is one of the best parts of this era.
Yeah, that's really impressive. As two guys that get together and make soundscapes like that, I have to imagine it's difficult to approach those in a live setting. It's cool to hear that pulled off.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder, like, in retrospect, people think that Low and Heroes are like his two best albums. But I wonder how, like, people at the time approached just like, okay, we're going to slow down the set, and Bowie isn't going to sing, he's going to turn and either conduct or just let Carlos Alomar play the role of the conductor while he just stands in the back and plays synthesizer and play like just this long, droney experimental piece. So,
I mean, I would have thought it was awesome, but I could imagine some people being like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
I actually did think it was a little unusual that there was no vocals on that second track, but that didn't detract from my enjoyment of it. I assumed he was playing a synth or doing something during it.
Yeah, like a lot of those he was either like conducting or playing synth, but then other times he would pass it off to another member of the band and they would conduct and he would play synth. So
very nice.
Yeah, and so it was just like a really weird and interesting era for him, and it paid off because it's generally considered the high point of his career. My favorite record of his is from that era, that's Low. Like, if I were to do my three favorite Bowie LPs, it would be Low, Heroes, and then Black Star, the last one he did before he died. So,
is this live era one of the eras that you would choose to visit if you had a time machine?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that I would love to witness that. That seems like a hell of a show.
It was interesting in the studio in this era, too, because, you know, he had that huge band of all-stars with him, but in the studio it was even more, because, yeah, I already said, you know, like, he had Brian Eno there to do, like, synths and backup vocals, but he was also at that time getting like backup vocals from Iggy Pop and then like lead guitar from Robert Fripp coming out of retirement, basically. So this is also responsible for the revival of King Crimson, which Adrian Belew would join after he toured with Talking Heads. So
Dang.
This was a time when like everything was just kind of coming back together, and there were a lot of old established people getting in like with the younger bands, and like if we didn't have this, I don't think we would have had the space for like Kate Bush. Like, Kate Bush would have still been doing stuff, but I don't think she would have been as successful because people wouldn't have been ready for that kind of thing yet.
Yeah.
So this was, just really cool era. And now we're going to flip it over and listen to this band do 2 songs off of the Ziggy Stardust album. So you get to see how they approach the older material now.
All right. I bet it's going to be awesome.
Alright, and we are back, and that was Hang On To Yourself and Ziggy Stardust live from the 1978 era of Bowie. Steve, what'd you think?
Well, I think this lineup suited that material very well. I don't know how similar or different it is to the original songs, but they definitely made them sound freaking huge. The rock and roll aspect of the first song just had such a high energy, and the band was just so tight on that song. Like,
yeah,
you could tell they were just highly skilled and also having a ton of fun going at it. And then I thought that the slower song sounded huge and epic, and fantastic performance. Yeah, I really loved this entire live EP.
Yeah, Hang On To Yourself, the first one of this side, was the fastest song on the Ziggy Stardust album, and this version is faster than the one on the record. Like, this was kind of, like, the Ziggy Stardust and Diamond Dogs album especially were pretty influential on, especially the UK version of punk that was brand new at this time when they were playing this, like, 77. And so, like, it felt like they're really leaning into that for Hang On To Yourself, because that was a very punky vocal deliverance from Bowie on that one.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And, so they just played it really fast and burned through it. It's also, though, like, longer than the version on the album, so they just kind of held with it for a while. And you can tell that Bowie at this time, like, 75, 76, was, like, he and Iggy Pop, when they were in New York, would just go to CBGB's a lot and sit in the back in sunglasses because they thought no one would recognize them, and everyone did, and listen to punk bands. So that's where that version of Hang On To Yourself is really coming from. But yeah,
2 of the most identifiable looking guys in the universe think that they can go all low key. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. then they would go back and introduce themselves to the band, like in the like backstage area, and like the bands who they saw would be like, "Yeah, we know who you are."
This is probably when they were doing a lot of drugs, right?
Yeah. This is when they were on so much cocaine that Bowie didn't remember making the Station to Station album. Which by the time of this live record, he was starting to cut back and would eventually hit sobriety. We will probably do Station to Station at some point and talk about what some of the weird / awful things he did while on that much cocaine. But yeah,
yeah.
But
cocaine, it's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Just ask Tony Iommi.
Yes. And then Ziggy Stardust, it's the title track, never released as a single. There weren't a lot of singles off the Ziggy Stardust album. It was a concept album, and they kind of shoehorned a single in because the label was giving them problems with Starman, which Starman is a great song. The label's actually right to make them include it. But there were a lot of like big iconic songs off of it, but they weren't what was considered radio friendly in like 72 when it came out, and so it had like these big epic songs like those 2, especially though like the second one, Ziggy Stardust, and they were considered like some of the most important songs by the artist, but never pressed to a 45. So
yeah.
Yeah, like the bigness of the production for this one. Like the original was kind of just like the guitars. It was like definitely a 4-piece band song, and this is like, hey, we have all these synth players and like this violin player, and we can do like this big sweeping like strings version of it, which I thought worked really well. It gave it it made it feel as epic as the song really can be. Like I like the original version too, but this was a interpretation that I really like of that too.
And the production on all 4 of these songs, you could hear everything crystal clear. Sounds great. If you could find one of these, I would definitely say pick one of these up and add it to your collection, because it's a scorcher.
Yeah. Well, that was the Breaking Glass EP from Record Store Day, circa 2018, and this was Side 1, Side B. I'm Dave.
I'm Steve.
Catch you on the flip side.
Side 1, Side B is a Floof Goof Studios production. Check us out on the interwebs by going to my website, killrockmusic.com. That's KILRAVOCK music.com. And there's a tab for Side 1, Side B. And additionally, you can check out me and Dave's projects, The Alliterates and Lucid Fugue, respectively. You can also check us out on Instagram at KillRockMusicSWS and Dave_Diction. Thank you.
Yeah, never forget.
Disgusting.
An unlimited supply.
Cocaine. It's a hell of a drug.